Let's do it! First time learning. First time we're learning in the new house. Baruch Hashem together. Saturday Shmaya with all the brachas. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'hakohen b'dvor.
Amen.
Ari's going to say some Torah and then we're going to get to Likutei Moharan.
Okay, so, we see with the Makos and with when Hashem took us out of
Pashas BORUCH.
And when Hashem took us out of Egypt, clearly he could have just given all Egyptians a plague, or carpet bombed them all. Or same thing, and then the Jews could have just walked away. But in black and white, it was very clear why he didn't. Why did he do it? Because he wanted the Jews and the Egyptians to know who Hashem is. Okay.
So Hashem doesn't believe in these final solutions like the MASHA.
Well, not
it has to be a process.
Well, also because so much positivity could come out of it. For example, like at the end, I believe. Paro, I think the rabbi said this, that Paro asked for a bracha, basically. Have you heard that?
Yes.
So why did if he's asking for a bracha, what is he saying? I believe.
Yeah.
I believe in God now, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it says he became the melech of Nineveh, because after the Kriyas Yamsuf, that's next week's parsha, Kriyas Yamsuf, there was nowhere else to turn. What's he going to do? He wasn't killed at Kriyas Yamsuf. Right. Everyone else was. All the Mitzrim were killed, all the Egyptians. Or he was left by himself. And he saw Hashem's hand in the most revealed form. So what happened? He became about tshuva, and he went to traveled, and he became eventually. They made him into the king of Nineveh, and who ended up in Nineveh? Yonah, a Novi, who had to help them do tshuva. So he was makabel Yonah a Novi. He received them.
So so we see, and another thing that what's the rabbi's name that we were learning with that day in upstairs?
Rabbi Goldhirsch.
Yeah. So another thing Rabbi Goldhirsch said was that during all the plagues, until the Jews crossed the Dead Sea, they didn't really fully believe this is really happening. Come on, God's made us slaves for years. Great, there's lots of good things, just we've seen lots of nisim. We've seen rockets intercepted. We've seen so many nace after nace after nace. But still, do we really believe in Geula?
Sure.
So it says the Jews didn't believe they were really going to be saved right until the end. So it's, so it matches up very, very similar story with why didn't we just carpet bomb? Because if we carpet bombed, it would have been old news very fast. And now we have, for 14 months already, we have these idiots in the streets with these flags. Right. But they think they're waving these Palestinian flags. But really what they're waving are Israeli flags. Why? Because they're saying, look at Israel, look at Israel, look at Israel. Right now the whole world is screaming, look at Israel. And some people are actually getting smart enough to come out and be like, you guys are going for the wrong people. Israel is light. People are recognizing it, non-Jews. Yeah. And I feel it's I feel everything is very similar. And then with God's help, just how where, we think we're in times of Geula, we think Mashiach's gonna come, but then we're is it really going to? It's been thousands of years. But the answer is yes. It really is.
The process is there, and all the simanim of Simanei Mashiach are there. And now with this AI, I was just on a call, we just saw Shmuel Diamond, he was talking about how he's using the tools of AI to help process all of his classes and material, and it's so helpful with courses and stuff. And I said, I do see how it's helpful, but the way it's coming so quickly, and there's going to be AI robots, and technology is going super, super fast, way more than ever before. And there's this new thing called Deep Seek. So I wrote under Lex Friedman's post, let's not talk about deep seek. Let's talk about deep soul. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the deep soul. We don't have to because what's going to be the missing nafkamina? What's the point that's not there in all this technology is the soul. And the only thing that's going to give the only solution to all this speeding technology is going to be the soul level. That's the only thing. So that's why it's so important when we learn Chassidus, this rabbi there, this whole rabbi movement that happened recently, Pnimius Torah, that Shlomo was a part of, and we know with Breslov as well, and Chabad, and all the different parts of Pnimius Torah, the Kabbalim and everything going on and out in the world nowadays, so much Pnimius Torah, that it's all one thing what this person said, is it's about revealing more the soul. in humanity and strengthening the soul level. And even though Rav Yosef Brunson said a good point, and we're going to learn about it in Tanya next week when we learn about Tanya, we had this concept of breaking the body. Yeah. So we're going to learn that you have to do it in a healthy way nowadays. Like there's no such thing as really breaking the body, because the body also needs to be able to be a kli, which connects into what we're learning here. It has to be a vessel for the soul. And really the point that we're learning by Rebbe Nachman now is that we need to bring that light of Torah and light of Panemius into a healthy vessel. And that's a lot to do with not just a healthy body and a holistic path, which the Rebbe was very much for, but we also have to work on Kedushas Bris and Yesod, which is what Rebbe Nachman is talking about in his Torah, in Torah Lamed Vav and Sif Vav. And I just want to mention that Rav Shlomo said an important point, which I think is true, and I remember when I used to learn from Tzaddikim about this whole Inyan, they always said you have to focus on the positive, which is what you're doing. There are those paths. There's people like Rabbi Lalo Nava and Yosef Mizrahi. There's other people very strong and fiery, and they'll say all like the more Yira aspect of it. But for our generation, I feel then the focus has to be more positive and chizuk. And what Rav Shlomo said is that even if you're improving one little aspect of this, like you look a bit less on your phone, or you make it a little bit more gavul. One of my gavulim is if I'm starting to feel like I need to look at my phone at the end of the night, at the day and night. One of the good answer is not to have the phone there, but if I have the phone there, to try to start writing a book. I've mentioned this before, United Souls. I start writing my book, and I get busy being creative at the end of the day, and after usually like a paragraph of the book, I feel sleepy again, and I go to sleep, and then I didn't fall into all that schmutz. Mm-hmm. So really, you have to find some other thing to do that's positive to keep you away from all that, and that would be a big, very simple point of how to protect yourself, or whatever that is for you that works. But the point of what Shlomo was saying is that every small little move in the right direction with tikkun Yesod, which is Rebbe Nachman is talking about here, is the key to have that whole kli, whole vessel, so that you can absorb all the light of the soul and light of the neshama. So he says here, Al-Kain, yeah, you hear? We were going to go back just a little bit from what we learned, because we were a bit rushed just before Marav. Al-Kain Kasib Bilam, yeah, and therefore it writes about Bilam. Bilam is the antipathy, the climax, yeah, he is the dogma or the opposite of Moshe Rabbeinu. He is, in every generation there's a tzaddik and a rasha that I have to get the right English word, but basically that is the ultimate expression of good and the ultimate expression of bad. There has to be that balance in the one, like Yaakov and Esav, yeah, obviously, or YITZCHAK and Yishmael, or go through all the generations. Rav Alanava said that in our generation all the Rishonim have come back because there has to be some sort of tikkun for the world, so they all have to come back some Gilgal, which is a bit of a scary thing, and that's all the crazy stuff going on in the world because they're all around right nowadays. What we need is all the Gilgalim of the Tzaddikim to come and help us get out of this mess. But anyway, the point is that we have the tzaddik within, and Bilam is the opposite. He's the rasha. He's the one who gives the eitzes. First, he tries to bless us, but not really. He's really trying to curse us, as we learned previously. And his blessing, he's trying to take it. That's what it says here. It says, Al-Kain Kasib Bilam, Hine Berach Lekachti. He wanted to take that bracha, the kamets. Yeah, this is a Kabbalistic concept of the kamets. We learned before in the previous concept that kamets is connected Keser. Keser is like the Rotzen, is the highest level. Because remember, Bilam was dealing with the highest levels. Moshe Rabbeinu, his gematria of his name is Rotzen, plus Moshe's plus one is Rotzen. My wife actually has the full gematria. MASHA is Rotzen exactly, but Moshe's is without the aleph is Rotzen plus one. So Rotzen is all to do with Keser. Keser is the world of wanting, constantly having a deep, deep desire, and this is very much to do. If you learn that Rav Shalom Arush's Sefer or Chadash, is very beautiful Sefer. I did a whole bunch of classes on it. A New Light. It's my favorite Sefer from Rav Shalom Arush. This very Panemius concepts of wanting the right things, tuning yourself into Rotzen, even when you go to sleep, to want the right things. I'm not saying I'm holding by any of these things. I'm just saying this is what I learned, and I try, obviously on my level, try to bring it into reality. So want the right thing, to work on your Rotzen. Have you ever thought about that? You want to sleep in a holy way. You want to connect to God. You want to do a mitzvah. You want to do a chesed. You want to learn Torah. Like I have a strong Rotzen every day to learn. That's, thank God, Hashem put it into me. And it's even better when I learn with someone else. I can learn by myself. I learned Daf Gemara, and I have Rav Eli Stefansky helping me, thank God. But by the way, it came up in his shir, he has a chavrusa in Tanya. I didn't know this. He mentioned it today. He has a chavrusa in Tanya, and he's learning. He was sitting in front of a Chabad mashpia in Utah because he's gone to visit his daughter. So he maybe because of the Chabad mashpia, it made him think about it and the concept as well. Because the guy I think mentioned something in the Tanya, so he ended up Baruch Hashem learning Tanya, Chas Hashem. And because he's a very big litback.
He's from Chicago.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He was like
that was a lot of his success happened there.
He was a real estate guy. My best friend actually.
His partner's still going there, I think. He says he still has a partner who's still running it all.
Yeah. And
it helps him, fund what he's doing and as well as all the chesed and tzedakah that goes on. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, so that's the comments, the big rotzen. Vivarach lo yishevena. And he went to bless, but Hashem would not take it back. Yeah, that he would not return that blessing. That's b'seirei. Now we said before, seirei. This is very kabbalistic, but why not? Seirei is bina, whatever that means. Yeah. So these are all nakudas, the letters underneath the osius, the vowels underneath the osius, the letters, the vowels, comments and seirei. So even when he tried to take the bracha, there was an aspect of closing the comments, like sealing off the comments, which we said is keser. He bechinas beirech, but now beirech is blessing is the opposite. Usually, it means to pour forth. Like when you give someone a bracha, you're pouring forth blessing into their home, into their life. Shefa, it's like a outpouring mayan of water, like this pool of water that's overflowing. That's the symbol of BORUCH, of beirech. Like even the letters, base is 2, resh is 200, chaf is 20. So they're all it's all a multiple. Like instead of being aleph, which is more associated with, God forbid, with curse, oro is the word for curse. Beirech is the opposite, where it constantly is multiplying things in your life, so for good, hopefully, yeah. So you have money, it should be with bracha. So the money should expand and it should keep growing. It shouldn't go down. It should the bank account should grow. The business investment should grow, and so should the bracha that you get for your family and for good health. Everything should grow. Eliezer ki he haya rotze listaya lefi bechinas hakli shelo she bechinas klala. So he was all connected to he doesn't use the word ora. He uses the word klala here. He was all connected to the word of klala, which is curse. He was all connected So there was a point that no matter what Bilam tried to do,
he was my friend, one of my best friends at Rami.
So we're learning Likutei Moharan of Rami. So we're gonna.
He's a huge scholar.
Okay, good. So we're learning about this concept of Bilam tried to curse. We know he tried to curse our people. And what Hashem did was made sure that it would only become bracha. So even if he was trying to take away the blessing from us, he couldn't do it. Hashem wouldn't let him do it. Is what? Is Achzor.
He tried to be cruel, but he flipped into baruch.
Oh, very nice. So that's a very nice gematria. So the numerical value of Achzor is baruch. So it ended up becoming bracha instead of his cruelty, which is what he wanted. So that Rebbe Nachman explains it al pi Kabbalah here, like exactly what was going on in terms of the Nekudas Osius, but we're just going to keep it simple. We're going to go ahead. This is where we got to last week. That it's a beautiful concept that Hashem testified upon us, and he wrote that YISRAEL is called the Shiftei Ka. We are called the godly tribe. He puts on us the Yud and the K of the name of Vaya onto our name. How do we see that? Kamosha Perish Rashi Zechron LeBracha Al Hanuchi. Hanuchi begins with a Hey and ends off with a Yud. And Chanuch was the name. So what he added was the Yud and the K added to the word Hanuch became Hanuchi. So the Yud and K were testified or added as Adus on the holiness of the tribe of this specific part of a tribe of Hanuch. So Hanuch became godly. His mishpacha, his family, had the siruf, had the joining up with the Yud and the K of the Shem Havaya. And Shemi ma'id aleim, that my name, says the pasuk, will testify upon them. Shem ka hu b'chinas mochin. And this Yud K is the aspect of mochin. We'll be learning again and again in the Likutei Moharan. There's obviously a long Torah here, and you're just jumping in the middle. But nevertheless, we'll try to connect it to make it somewhat connectable even at this point. That mochin is Yud and K. He goes on to say that the mochin represents Chochma and Bina. Chochma is the spark of inspiration, the Yud, and the Hey is we're learning it out, like the Bina, the understanding aspect of it, the wisdom and the understanding.
The Bina is the Pratim.
Yes, the Pratim. Very good. Yeah, and that initial spark of inspiration that you're saying is the cloud, it brings us now to understanding, which is the Bina, and together you get Das. Yeah, that's Yud and K coming together, Chochma Bina Das. And it brings, it's Noled, all the Mochit, or the Midas, all the Midas Tovas, the Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Tzachod, Yesod, Malchus, all the way through. But the concept is you first have to have the Yud and the K, the Mochin, to be able to bring down that Shefa, to bring down those Hashpas. So that's when Hashem put the Yud and the K on Klal Yisrael. He was testifying that we were holy and that we were able to be a clear vessel and have the aspect of Mochin, of consciousness, of understanding, of true consciousness, a true way of thinking, which is we all want. Everyone wants to have a clear way of thinking. We're all yearning for that, something we all want. Sha'akum hay omim im gufam hay moshlim lefika eda kosev. So it's an interesting point he goes on to say from a midrash that the goyim, the aspect of the body and their body rules over them. And he goes on to say even their wives rule over them. That's an actual addition that's in the brackets there. Their wives rule over them as well. This concept, obviously, we know from learning this Torah, what gives the power for the wife to rule over the husband in a negative sense is that there's a certain immorality going on, meaning that there's some sort of pagam where the body is obsessed with what? The thing, the part that's the most difficult to deal with, it said it's the Yesod of all the not good midas, is the bris, is how we guard the bris, and that's the hardest fight for a man, and that's where the weakness can come in. And so by the nations, we know, if you look at anything online, pretty much, you can see, it's pretty much in your face, that the body is ruling over the soul, and therefore it's all totally on how, it's all dependent on how we guard the bris, and because the nations aren't busy with that, so then you see it in a real time. Like just go on to Instagram, on any platform really, and you just see him.
Don't trigger him. Don't trigger him.
Yeah, don't go do it. But it's just there.
He has everything locked.
And that's why they testifies upon them that they don't get the Yud and the K, they don't get the Shechina, because they're not whole in this way. They're not working on this inyan. It's our job as Am Yisrael to be the Shiftei Ka, to be the godly tribes, and to bring that Or L'Goyim, to bring that light to the nations. That there is Kedusha Zabris, there is an aspect of Sadik, Yesod Olam, there is this concept of guarding your eyes, guarding your mouth, guarding your speech. This we'll be learning about here. Putting your hands over your eyes during Krishma is representing Shmir Sanayim and bringing down the Shechina, bringing down that Hashem Echad, the oneness of Hashem into the world. And that in itself is a big part of fixing up the bris, about tuning into the unification that's going on. Because the Yud and the K is a unification. And our job is to bring more unity, more united souls into the world. He goes on to say, Rebbe Nachman, a famous pasuk in Pashas Re'eh, Daika. He says Daika. So you have to really look into it, go medayik into it. How's he translate Daika? Just want to hear what his translation is into. The language is exact, very specific. Because it's Ra'ei Anochi, see what I put in front of you, the Bracha or the Klala. You have a choice. Ki lemalahi b'chinas kamis, shekamis sosim, aval lefneichem lemata nistaya or b'chinas kli. So this is a very deep concept, but the main nakuda we'll take out of it is that we need to choose, obviously, to want the mochin, to want the Kedush Zabris, to want to bring the Bracha into our life, and not have the eitzes, the bad advice of Bilam and the internet take away this pure chokhmah and this pure advice that we can tune into.
Is the mochin the keli for the Shefa of Chachma and Bina?
Yes. He said that earlier in the previous Torah, and he's going to say it again in a minute, exactly what you just said. He's going to actually say it. Let's just read on. Because that's what Bilam wanted to do. He gave advice to Balak, the way you're going to bring down Am Yisrael. You can't take away the Bracha. The Bracha is going to go on to Am Yisrael. The whole Parsha of Bracha, and all those Brachas, we even davened some of them on Rosh Hashanah. We mentioned some of the Pesukim of Bilam, Arasha, become Bracha to the point every morning we say, Ma Tov Alecha Yaakov Mishkan Asech Yisrael. We walk into a shul, we're saying his Bracha. So he was not successful. So he now figures out there's a much better way I can mess up Am Yisrael, is I can't not bless them, but what I can do, he says to Balak, I'll give advice to mess them up with the inyan of the erva. The matter of erva we know is to do with nakedness, with inyanim of adultery or different words, morality. Yeah, kedei lekal kleihem. What was the whole reason? He wanted to ruin the vessels of Am Yisrael. He knew on the inner level that he knew Das Elyon. He knew the higher wisdom, and he knew he wanted to ruin Am Yisrael. He couldn't do it through the original approach. He's going to have to do it through cursing and breaking their kalim. How does he break their vessels? Through causing a pagama bris, God forbid, through immorality. Zeh shekos of hachmei refuas, and this is an interesting thing. Rebbe Nachman brings the wisdom of the science, of the healers. You're not going to see this on every page of Likutei Moharan. Shasares refuah la meshuga. I'm not saying he's giving any advice on a practical level. He's just giving a a concept. That if someone who what's the word he is? There's a word. Castration. Yeah. Someone who does castration. Saris is, we use that lashon when it comes to birth control. There is forms of that you can do that's actually permitted. But one of the unpermitted ways a person castrate himself, this is a refuah to being mad. So what's making a person insane is a sexual drive. Yeah, every man on some level can relate to this. You're
not allowed to cut it off, right?
No, we're not allowed. But he's bringing it just as a concept. He's not saying it as a practical concept. So it's just like a kol v'chomer. It teaches you a teaching. If we learn out from that someone who castrates himself no longer feels meshuga in his mind anymore about this whole issue, so too we can learn out in for healthy normal people. We should never do such a thing.
You could we
get a meshugas from this area, from this test, from this challenge.
Because you could learn from that.
Yeah.
That more important to do good than not to do bad. Because if it was more important to do bad, then Hashem would say, "Oh, you've got a problem, chip chop."
Yeah, just cut it off.
But no, because it's
going to
take away from the opportunity to do
right, because he wants pure root. Very good. He wants us to be fruitful and multiply. And that also, Rav Shlomo brought a beautiful concept from Rav Ginsburg. Being fruitful and multiply doesn't just mean having children. It also means being fruitful in this world, bringing out a lot of blessing.
One of his rabbis too.
Bringing out a lot of blessing in your life.
Rav Ginsburg also said that that most of the mental illnesses that exist are a result of Shefa.
Yeah. This is which ties exactly to what we're saying, Lo Aleinu. So the idea that in order to have healthy mental state, we really have to work on the Kedushas Bris, and for a man, obviously, a woman has a different avoda, but this is talking about for the men. The women can help the men work on it, because we'll see there's a yichud between the man and the woman. That's the whole point. Zehi Saluka Yesod ad Abba ve'ima. That's what he goes on to say. This is a separation in the Yesod, of the foundation, until what? Until father and mother, which means Abba and Iba means what you said before, Chochma and Bina. Abba and Ima is Kabbalah for Chochma and Bina. Yeah, it's the panemius of Chochma and Bina. So Abba and Ima is this yichud. We can understand a father and mother comes together, it brings down souls and children. Mochin, we've already learned this concept, as Mochin is connected to bringing down Das, which is Rabbi Nachman says elsewhere, bringing down halachas, bringing down clear ways of going in this world, through working through Chochma and Bina, through a yichud between Abba and Ima. And that's the clarity of mind that a person has to pray for and daven for and work on through Kedushas Bris, through tikkun klali, through learning Torah, through mikvah, through guarding his eyes, guarding his mouth, guarding his heart, wanting the right things, having a rotzen for the right things, a will for the right things. This is all right now, Min Hashemayim, Shovavim. So we've been learning this Torah for many months now, since my original conversation with Eli, and we started off in Torah Aleph in around this time last year, and we're already now in Torah Lamed Vav, and it's perfect timing for Shovavim, exactly what Rebbe Nachman is talking about the tikkun and bris. Everything's Hashgacha Pratis. We've seen this again and again with the learning, and Hashem should keep blessing us with that revealed divine providence. Hainu bechina shemi ma'id aleim. Because what's going to happen? Hashem is going to testify upon them and bring His testimony on. I don't think we should go weiter. That will be for next week. But I think this concept, if we would look into the summary, he has a beautiful summary in the Breslov Da'ug Sefer. This takes us all the way back to the beginning of this Torah. It's a beautiful concept that every soul has in its root the 70 faces of the Torah. Remember, all the way back, and he has 70 souls of Beis Yaakov that went into Mitzrayim, which is the beginning of Golos Mitzrayim. These 70 souls, they were one soul, because it says Nefesh, Loshon, Yochid. They were one soul. They were united. One soul went into Mitzrayim. Ulam kedei lezachas hagala shel Torah aleya lesarf begalas tachas shivim uma loshim midoseh and aroyos. And he's misamsem this whole bunch of Torahs that we've just been learning. That in order to what? To reveal the Torah that comes out from the Golos of the 70 nations. And this all comes out from the negative, bad attributes. And and he says that what's the source of all these negative attributes of the 70 nations, which Am Yisrael have to fix? The root of it is Taivas Niyaf, immorality, which we were just learning about. When a brave person breaks his taiva, this desire, yesh biyado l'shabet shah taivas benacho. So really, all we have to do is work on this thing. And we said before, Rav Shlomo gave a good point that it only has to be a little bit. We don't have to go crazy and start going nuts. Oh, I fell, I looked at this, or I thought this, or I said this, or I wanted this. We don't have to start judging ourselves heavily because of it. We have to keep a positive headspace. And whatever little bit of improvement we make is a massive step. And that gives us a bit, by breaking it even a little bit, that will break all the other negative attributes and all the negative energies that's in the world affecting all the nations. And by us humbling the taiva of immorality, it brings us to das, which is what we said before. The Chochmah and Bina coming together form das. The Galas of Torah, the revelation of Torah. And that will bring with that ability, will bring down the evil kingdom, which is now the end of days, manifests not as Mitzrayim, but manifests as Yishmael or Esav Yishmael together, some sort of Amalek force that's going on in Gaza, whatever it is, that we bring that down. How? Not by Trump, not by politicians. We bring it down through fixing the bris and revealing more Torah. Yikalal b'tchum malchus gedush yeshakab omach shemayim b'kriyas shema YISRAEL, kriyas shema YISRAEL v'ochem b'hanayim atzumos. And I mentioned it before, by closing your eyes during those two pesukim, there's a yichud of the 12 words there, the 12 tribes. You're bringing down the shiftei kah, you're bringing down the holy souls of Am Yisrael, and you're making a yichud that takes away all this negativity that's going on out there. Kriyas shema mikabelei shanim. And he says, because Kriya Shema, there's 12 words, 12 tribes. Shiftei Ka. And that when a person says that his soul is separated from these bad midas, then we become under the kingship of holiness. Kriya Shema bilvad asui lisai la'adam keneged hero avera. So Kriya Shema just by itself helps us a lot to get rid of bad thoughts. But boy malad b'krai, they come along every so on. So the way we really purify these thoughts is through crying, or like having an emotional experience during this time of saying Kriya Shema, trying to get involved in the mitzvah, not just saying it like a robot, but to have it affect your being. When you're saying the Shema, you're really thinking deep into the yichud and to the love you have for Hashem, and not going after your eyes and all the other beautiful things in Kriya Shema. That will help you. And crying about it, he says the actual tears help you as well. But we have to be real. We're not always going to do that, but at least on some level. And the Tzaddikim, by them revealing Torah, They bring down new souls. Kol Adam Mesugu Lahasig gets Divrei Sadik, and everyone needs to work on themselves so they can understand the words of the Siddiqim. How do we do that? By fixing up our bris. Then you can have a clear vessel for the words of the Siddiqim. Shama bris ochel chadesh etz nishmasa b'Torah Sadik, and by guarding our bris, we'll be merit to have the soul in the Torah of the Sadik, and by God forbid having the Pagama bris, then we create a damage in that way. Vatam lekach hu she'or she'roid malamala gam kasher mashpia derech divrei Torah or divrei Sadik hu or pashat v'chesed v'sur v'chasasur racha kli shem meichin v'kabel kavur ezasur tiyalo shal bracha or chas shalom nahiv. So what we have to do is make sure that there's tremendous awe that Hashem is bringing into the world, that it should go into a kli, and it shouldn't just be this tremendous light, because there is a tremendous ribui awe right now. There's a tremendous amount of technological developments with AI and everything going on. There's this tremendous access we have to everything all at once. But it's not going to be any help if we don't put it into a kli. So our voda is to make sure we put it into a vessel, and that will bring through that tremendous blessing. And with that, we should ask Hashem to help us with all these things. It's not easy. We dive into Hashem to help us to have all these beautiful concepts we just mentioned, and please God to, most importantly, have simcha, enjoy life, because Hashem wants us to be happy. And all my Rebbes told me if I'm happy, I'll have everything I need, and that's obviously one of the hardest things. I figured out a few hard things I'm struggling with, I'll be very honest. I definitely struggle with a bris, that's for sure, but that's most of us, we're all going through that together. I definitely struggle with simcha. I can't say everyone struggles with that, but it seems like there's a mental health crisis, which we're going to talk about tomorrow in the podcast, in the Real Kindness podcast, especially with everything going on with this year in the war. So there's a lot of mental issues. So to be happy is also obviously something hard people are struggling with. It's very connected, simcha and kedusha bris. But then there's another third thing I struggle with is being misamsem, being bring the light of inspiration into a very specific concept or a very specific idea or a specific post, and to be very clear. And that's something I need to work on very much. So these are things that I think a lot of people share as a challenge. Maybe not as much the last one, but I think the first two that everyone has a challenge with. And I think we can all work on it, and Hashem should give us courage to have more joy and more holiness.
I mean, I wanted to leave you with one thought.
Yeah, sure.
Rabbi Sion Bar Ami, who's friends with Rav Ginsburger, he's a Yemenite rabbi in Rehovot.
Nice.
Which Ari and I were zochah to see when I was in there.
You know that picture by my table of the Chavetz Chaim?
He said the name Yehudi, which means Jew, if you take the Yud, the final Yud, and you put it by the Dalet, you create a Hey, it's the Shem Havaya.
Right.
Hashem gave us his name, his Shem Havaya in
Beautiful.
our name.
So we're walking around, and our job is to show Hashem's glory, to reveal Hashem. We literally are His shlichim. We are His nation. We are Shiftei Kar. We are here to reveal Hashem. It's beautiful.
Two things. So he just got a new house, thank God. Could you give him a bracha on his house? And his son is fighting for us for over 14 months.
Yeah, he's up in Syria now, so he's finishing
He's
up
been like front lines
Lebanon,
in Gaza.
If you give me his name,
BORUCH YITZCHAK ben MASHA.
His grandfather's a Makubal.
BORUCH YITZCHAK ben
my
MASHA.
great-grandfather was a big Makubal. If you get me the name, I'll send it over to Rabbi Ami.
Please
Ask
do.
him to be well.
Because even though he's at the end part of he's at the end part of Sadir, but this is what we were saying before. He's the next challenge after he finishes his army service is to deal with the trauma and the emotional stress that it created.
Rav Arami does have a special way he deals with people who've been traumatized. He dealt with the ones from Lebanon in 2006 and 1982. He has a history. He has a whole system through the Kabbalah of dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Well, people are going to need this en masse. So he's got a lot of work ahead of him. So his students need to help him.
You should sit down and get a consult and talk to him.
Amazing.
He's a special person.
We should be blessed with that. And thank you. I'll send you the name through my holy brother, Rebbe.